Here's more of the Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.
I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:34, about 26 minutes before 8 o'clock, and busy political morning this morning after yesterday's big debates for lieutenant governor and governor's race. We just had Democratic lieutenant governor's candidate John Burkhalter on the show talking about his experience and his plan and the contrast between he and his opponent, Congressman Tim Griffin. And the congressman joins us right now. Congressman, great to have you here.
Great to have you here. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you could join us. Well, you heard John Burkhalter and his comments, many things, referring to you as a career politician, said he is ahead in the polls, and he has the jobs plan for the state of Arkansas. You have any response?
Well, I wish he would have laid some of this out yesterday in our televised debate. He must have made it up overnight, because when we debated yesterday, he didn't have a jobs plan. But look, here's the deal. I heard some of his comments. The bottom line is, he started this going negative months, probably at least a month ago, maybe more. He ran out of money from donors a couple months ago, and so he had to start paying out of his own pocket. And he's been financing hundreds of thousands of dollars in negative ads, and he's frustrated because they're not working, and I get that. And I'm not worried about it. You know, he may think it's negative when you talk about his record. Well, it is pretty negative, but he's made his quote business experience the centerpiece of his campaign. If you can't talk about the centerpiece of his campaign, his unpaid taxes and all that other stuff, then that just sort of, he wants to have his cake and eat it too, it seems to me. He said he wants to keep things positive. Right before he started into about 10 negative attacks. It's ridiculous. He says, I'm a problem solver. Well, that's interesting. He filed 2 lawsuits this week. He files a lawsuit routinely. And it sounds like he's causing problems, not solving problems. On the solving problems deal, let me tell you, there's a group, you may have heard of it, No Labels, out of Washington. And what
right.
they do, they try to bring Democrats and Republicans together to, not to change their views, but just to try to find some common ground. Well, I've been what they call a problem solver, and actually they decided to give me their, what they call, it's called a seal of approval. I guess it's sort of like an endorsement, because I have worked across the aisle to try to find common ground with folks. Not changing my views, just looking for areas where we can work together. And I've done that in Congress. I've worked as hard as I possibly can for the 2nd District, and I want to do that statewide. And look, here's the bottom line. The first thing a candidate for lieutenant governor needs to be is honest. He just needs to be straight up. If you're going to talk about your opponent, that's fine. That goes with the territory. But at least try to be honest about it. And the second thing is, you need to know how to count. He keeps saying, I've been 20 years in Washington. I guess he thinks I'm a lot older than I am. At 46, 20 years ago, I had just finished law school 20 years ago. I had my kid. We had our kid in Hot Springs in 2007. That was 7 years ago. Well, I certainly hadn't been in Washington since then. In 05, 06, I got mobilized in the Army. I don't know what calculator he's got, but he talks a lot about his old engineering slide rule. You might want to double-check that thing.
And he did. He referred to you as a career politician, and you responded that only in a Burkhalter-Obama economy is 3.5 years a career.
Well, and then he pivots and says, "Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all the years that you visited Washington." I think he's counting my high school tours of Washington as part of my time. I'm not sure exactly, but the bottom line is I was honored to work at the White House. If my kid gets the opportunity to work for a president, I'm not going to say don't do that. I'm going to say, hey, that's a great opportunity. If you can do that, I encourage you to do it. And the truth is there are tons of Arkansans that went to Washington and worked at the White House and what have you when President Clinton was in office. And you know what? That's an experience of a lifetime, and it's brought a lot of enrichment to Arkansas, all those folks' abilities and experiences. So, that's fine.
Congressman, I want to ask you, he also mentioned that a lot of what you said last night and a lot of the information you put out is because you are behind in the polls.
I haven't seen these polls that he's talking about. We're doing great, and I'll tell you what, I don't know a statewide Republican that's behind in the polls, to be frank with you. Look, you can see nationally that Republicans are doing well this year. People are fed up with Obama, and they want to change, and they're going to give Republicans a shot, I think, in many instances. I can tell you that is definitely the case in Arkansas. I happen to have the polls that I look at are usually certainly the public ones, but I have the same pollster that Tom Cotton and Asa Hutchinson has. And I can just tell you, I don't know a statewide Republican who's not up significantly. And, they could be wrong. You never know. It's just a snapshot in time. But I think it's going to be a wonderful year for people who want change, who want to go a different direction, who are tired of Democrats' one-party rule. And we've been moving here the last few elections, and I think this is going to be a continuation of this. So, if he's referring to Ernie Oakleaf or whatever, look, Ernie Oakleaf had me beating Herb Rule by 2 points. We ended up beating him by 16. I don't think anybody with knows anything about statistics puts any stock in those kind of polls. But look,
one last question, Congressman. We've got about a minute left. I want to ask you about jobs and job training, and the workforce was a key topic in the debate last night. You'd mentioned that in terms of creating less regulation, a better work environment here. Talk about the statement you made. If you make a better cake, you need less icing. What do you mean?
Well, what I mean by that is if you step back and think about what our strategy is in terms of job creation in Arkansas, is it bold tax reform? Is that what we've been working on the last so many years? No. Is it regulatory reform? No. It's not any kind of bold reform. In fact, during the time that my opponent says that he was Mr. Economic Development as head of the commission, we're at a big 47th in job creation in the country out of 50 states. So that's really something that he needs to explain. But here's the deal. The reason that we are just barely replacing the jobs we've lost, I actually think we're net 80,000 down since 2008, according to the state chamber. The reason is I'm all for incentives to help us get people here. I'm for it. I want to be real clear. But if that's our whole strategy, we will never generate the kind of jobs that other states are generating.
Okay.
Why? Because our policies, what I call the cake, and I call the incentives the icing or the sweetener, the cake that we have is less than ideal. We have a burdensome tax code. We have a regulatory structure that is burdensome. We need lawsuit, tort reform. We need workforce training. We've heard a lot about workforce training in the last 8 months. This is not an 8-month problem. This has been going on for 25 years.
Right.
And and so if you make a better cake, meaning change the permanent policies, you will need less icing to get people to eat it. I tell people there's some cakes like lemon pound cake, you don't even need icing and people love to eat it. The point is, make it better. People will come. It'll be a welcome mat for jobs. Let's do bold reform. Let's think bigger. Let's think bolder.
All right, Congressman Tim Griffin, Republican candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Congressman, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate
Have a
you.
good one.
All right, you
All right,
too.
bye.
We'll take a break. When we come back, Republican gubernatorial candidate Asa Hutchinson joins us right after this segment of the Alice Stewart Show, brought to you by Arrow Plumbing. Give them a call, 1-866-PLUMBER, or check them out online, arrowplumbing.net.
The Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.